now tapped in with the introspective father and son duo. Last name may be strange, but never strangers to the game. Adjust the listening devices and keep it loud.
Coming in, flex. I just wanna win, LABB, who we running with, 2233, I'm on 10 again, state your name.
Hello, and welcome to another installment of No Strangers to the Game. I'm Ja, and that's Troy, and on today's episode, we'll be discussing success. So let's get right into it. I wanted to ask you to go ahead and just give me your definition, if you can call it that, of success.
For me, success, in its real basic terms, is setting a goal or objective and taking the necessary actions to achieve that. And once you achieve what it is you set out, that to me is success in its simpler terms. As we've talked about before in the past, you and I, success is also a mindset. You have to condition yourself to see and believe that you can achieve the goals that you set out to obtain. So essentially that's what that means to me. What about you?
Yeah, really the same. Obviously, I think the conventional definition of success is, oh, this was the goal. This was, and I think people like it to be simple enough to where they can, measure it to, hey, it was a pass fail, or we hit our mark or hit our goal, or we didn't. But I think in a lot of ways, like you talked about, it's a mindset. I think, you wake up in the morning and there are people who wake up and they say, I'm successful. And because of that, I'm going to do things intentionally to make sure that I stay successful, or that I keep that same energy rolling. And then there are people who wake up and is like, I don't know what I am, or don't have the confidence to say they are successful. And therefore that same energy follows them, and they may not do things with the same intention or so on. So I definitely agree that there's two different types, the conventional measurable success, and then also the mindset success. And I think that's the bigger one for me anyway.
And I think with the mindset, you develop habits. Success is a habit. There's this repetition of doing things over and over until you build the muscle memory, the psychological depth and character to do those things, even when it's not comfortable. You commit to it, and you take the effort and have the discipline to pursue it and do things that are not always comfortable and easy. So it's habits as well, built by the mindset that you take on to be successful.
Yeah, I think that the habit word is key. I think that's it's like the same thing we talk about with mindset. I think those habits definitely follow successful people. But speaking of habits, and I guess this question depends on the situation, but what would you say are your steps or actions to achieve success?
Well, first is I sit down and I visualize what I want. For me, what I've learned is to see it. I believe you have to see what you want in most instances to be able to know. And then once you see it, be very precise and very specific at what it is you're shooting at. What's the target? So for me, it's one, visualizing it. Two, sitting down, writing down the steps. What do I want? What do I need to do to get there? Step one, I need to, let's say, for instance, I'm going to work out and I want to get in shape. Step one, I can see myself. What do I want to look like? What do I want to feel like? Then boom, I write that down. I go work out 3 times a week. And in my workouts, I do X, Y, and Z. These are the things and the exercises that I do. Then in eating, these are the meals that I want to prepare to make sure that I stay healthy. I'm eating healthy and consuming things that are going to be beneficial to my obtaining that goal. So first, see it, visualize it, then write those steps down. And then once you write them down, you put them on the calendar. On this day, I'm doing this. On this day, I'm doing something else. And that way, like when you're training for, track and field, your coach don't just say, go out there and Ja, what you want to do today. They have specific agenda from day one of practice to time when you're going to the championship season. And it's very specific and it's very drawn out to where they can achieve the goals that you guys set out. Don't mean you always obtain them, but you have a plan of action in order to put you in a position to achieve that success.
It's funny because you and I go back and forth on goal setting. I know for
Yeah.
New Year's, for New Year's, you like to write down kind of New Year's resolutions or really just goals or things you want to achieve throughout the year. And I have always not been opposed. It just, for me personally, I don't like setting goals. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but I just do not like setting goals. Even to this day, my coach, we had a meeting where he had us set goals on what we want to accomplish, in the year. And he was like, your goals aren't specific enough. I'm like, I don't really want to set specific goals. I don't like that. I just, for me personally,
be specific.
I've always felt like there isn't, it seems a bit, I guess, in our human nature, once again, wanting to quantify things, wanting to measure things, that, hey, this is what I want to achieve. And if I feel I did this, then I'm successful, right? And that's fine. But I feel like for me personally, I've always just wanted to, whatever the best I can do is what I want out of me. So setting a goal may set the goal too far, and then I don't feel like I was successful, but I got everything I could out of myself. Or I may set the goal too short, and I may get to the goal and be like, well, I'm successful, but I didn't reach anything within my potential.
I think your mind, if you don't have a target that you're shooting for, anything somewhere over there near the target may be okay. Like, for instance, when I say, you know what, I'm going to go out and I want to get, I don't know, I'd say, for instance, I want to build a house. I got to have a blueprint. I got to know how many square feet. I got to know all of building that house. Because otherwise, I'm just say, just go in there and throw something up. Did you want a tiny house? Did you want a mansion? Do you want a trailer?
That's a completely different thing. It is, because I look at it. I mean, what I mean by that is, and you didn't let me finish. What I was going to get around to saying is that I don't like goal setting, but I completely understand the idea of setting out at least, I guess you could call them goals, but just things that you want to be or want to see yourself as, right? And so for me, right, in specificity, let's talk about track. I don't have goals for this year. I don't have a certain number, anything quantifiable that, hey, I would be successful this year. I don't have those goals.
I have things successful
when I feel I've done the best that I possibly could. If I wake up every day and I go into the weight room and I go into the track and I give the best that I have and I go out on the track and I, progress forward and I jump and if at the end of the season, I can sit there and say, you know what, I maximized my potential that I have right now, I'll be successful.
So let me ask you this. Say, for instance, based on where you at, your training and all that, your best this year is 51 feet. Would that be successful to you?
If that was genuinely my best, absolutely.
I'm just saying, because you ain't really set where you want to be.
I haven't.
So, say, for instance, if there is, God forbid anything happen, 51 feet for you, being that you done passed that 3 years ago, is something that you wouldn't be excited about. It may be your best.
Well, but hold on though. Because what's important to understand is the circumstances, right? Obviously, I'm not hoping to go out there and jump 51 feet. But let's say, and once again, knocking on wood, God forbid, I go out there tomorrow and I rupture my Achilles or something. And I'm battling back throughout the year and I'm just hoping to get out there and do something. If I go out there at the end of the season at, Big 12 championships or whatever, I jump 51 feet and let's say I just score a point, I would be ecstatic. Why? Because in that context, I was extremely successful. I came back from blah, blah, blah. So what I'm saying is that context matters, and setting goals doesn't always encompass the context that could or could not happen.
But you would reset and restructure your goals if that was the case, because context matter, right?
But not even, I wouldn't though, because at the end of the day,
right now, you're saying
the same goal remains. The same goal remains.
Is great.
No, but I'm saying
based on everything being Ja is healthy and ready to go.
I'm saying that the same kind of end goal, if you want to call it a goal, remains to be the best version of myself on the track. And if that, in whatever context that is, if it's 51 feet, 45 feet, or 57 feet, then that's success. So for me to set, because if I come into this year and I say I want to jump 55 feet, and, that's my goal, right? And then I jump 54.11 and I'm like, oh man, kind of early in the season, I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I understand you're thinking of when you set a goal, you reset it or what have you like that. For me personally, and I guess it all comes down to personal, what you personally like or what you're into. I personally have never been into setting specific goals because it doesn't seem to be I don't need that quantifiable success. I just want to feel at the end of the day that I was the best version of myself.
Yeah, I don't get it. I just think that you have to know this is what I want. Because we say, well, child,
But see, that's
if you
the
go
thing.
buy a house or a car, you're going to set specifics, right? As to what you want. Or are you just going to be like, you know what?
What are you talking about? Actively going out there to buy the car? Or are you talking about if I come into this year and I say at the end of this year, I want to buy a house, whatever that context is, if I can get a house at the end of the year, whether it's a 20-bedroom mansion or, you know, a 2-bedroom, you know, I think that can be success, right?
Yeah, but you're going to know what you want, right? If you say, I'm going to buy a house this year, that's a specific, whether it be a condo, whether it be a mansion, whether it be a tiny house, whatever, you set a specific goal. Now, whether you get all into the details of it, how specific, but it's a specific goal that I'm going to go out and do this, right? You didn't say, oh, well, I'm going to have somewhere to live at the end of the year. Well, we hope you do. But when you say I'm going to go buy a house, now you're making sure your credit is good. You're making sure that you're saving up money. So when it's time to go buy a house, you're in position to buy the house. Not just, well, I'm looking to have a place to live. That's that's totally different.
Well,
how you going to approach that?
Let me put it this way then. What I'm saying is the key word in there is I don't like setting specific goals, because I feel that if I set a broader goal and I'm more well-rounded in my goal setting, then I'll achieve a lot of the smaller goals that I may have, right? So if you're saying buying a house, right, or getting your credit, what if I just say I want to be financially literate to where, hey, I can go buy 10 houses at the end of this year if that's what I want to do, or I can buy 10 cars, or I want to be financially literate. And the best that possible, whether that's being a millionaire or having, you know, $500 in my bank account, whatever it is, I want to be financially literate. I like to set more broad goals because I want to be able to have flexibility at the end of the year to say whether or not I was successful.
Even in setting that, being financially literate at the end of the year, that's still a goal, right? And it's still, okay, what does that mean? When you say I'm going to be financially literate, that means I'm going to know X, Y, and Z. Those still are specifics that you will have to come about and understanding, right? And why do you want to be financially literate? What is it that ultimately being financially literate is going to provide for you or get you to?
We can go back and forth on this all day long. We're going to have to agree to disagree. I personally just don't like setting specific goals. And
well, let me put it like this. Let me put it like this. Here's how the mind works, right? When you're out there competing and you're trying to win and be the best you can be, and somebody put a 54-foot jump out there, what you shooting for? You try to jump past whatever that person jumped, right?
Correct.
All right, because now I have a specific goal to win, and in order for me to win, it's going to take me to hit this mark. Not just go out there willy-nilly and just jump and say, well, I did the best I could, and you jump 48. You're like, I got to jump. In order for me to win this championship, I got to jump past whatever he jumped at that 54 mark.
And in the moment, that makes a lot of sense. But say coming into the meet, right? It's supposed to be a torrential downpour. It's supposed to rain, and it's going to be terrible. I can have the goal of winning, which is, I think, is the broad goal that I'm setting. And whether or not I win with 42 feet or 59 feet, I guess
you're not going to feel the same. It ain't going to be the same win.
If I'm at the Olympic stage and I win a gold medal jumping, whatever. Because with the context, you're not understanding. With the context, that win would be success in my eyes because everybody had to deal with that. If I go out there and beat Christian Taylor and Will Clay and I only jump 45 feet and I just beat them on that day because I was better and because of the circumstances, that's success.
Well, let me put it to you another way. Do you have any aspirations of breaking the school record?
Absolutely.
Okay, what's the school record?
I don't know.
Well, then you probably want to look it up.
I don't know.
If you have aspirations of breaking the school record, you got to know what the mark is, right?
I have no clue.
And that's going to put you to at least whatever that is.
Well, because this is the thing. I don't know what the school record is, but I do understand that I believe that my potential is past that. And so if I achieve my potential for this year, then I'll have passed the school record, whatever it is.
But if you don't know what it is, how do you know if your potential is past that?
I'm not exactly sure, to
the
be
school
honest.
record owner is Kenny Harrison, right?
Yes.
He's Olympic gold medalist, right?
Yes, but nonetheless.
18-meter jumper, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, and I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying you got to be precise and specific because everybody who has who's done triple jump over the years, very few of them have jumped 18 meters, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to be focused and you have to be specific in that regard. Otherwise, you fall short like everybody else. You got to be like, this is what I'm doing, not just, my best and I'm working out and I'm being my best. Your best has to be specific. So when you're going for a certain number, even in practice, you're like, okay, I got to hit this mark. I got to hit these steps. I got to do these things precisely in order to get to the level I'm going to run or the level I want to jump. Because if you're not doing it in practice and you're not aware of it, you can't possibly really be fully prepared to reach the goal that you set. So that's why I say you have to be precise and specific, because each day you go out and practice, you're practicing to reach those goals.
Well, once again, we can agree to disagree because I don't feel the same. And the reason I feel this way is because...
I'm gonna put out, you just need to listen to me because I know. That's all, because I'm telling you, where you going about it, you're going to be disappointed, man.
But that's how I've done. Okay,
let me ask you this. And
how you going to tell me that when I've gotten this far with that motto?
Yeah, but your motto, the last 2 years, indoor, half an inch. Half an inch, right?
Yeah.
But if you had been from day one knowing that I got it, in order to meet the what do you call it, the march, to go to the indoor nationals is going to be 53 feet. Oh, every day in practice, there's a concerted effort to make sure that I'm doing things to reach that 53. Not just, I'm going to be the best I can be.
But see, that's the thing you're not understanding is I went to practice every day with a concerted effort to jump over 56, 57. It wasn't 53. That wasn't my goal. It was just to be the best and maximize potential. In my eyes, my potential was over maybe 55, 56 feet. So I wasn't going there to jump 53 feet.
Okay,
did I fall short? Of course, but yes.
Okay, so now,
but let me
sit here like this. You're saying, and we're gonna move on because we can talk about this all day. What you're saying then is that really in the back of your mind, you was thinking 55. You just didn't want to say it.
I was thinking 55, 56, 57, whatever I felt my potential could be. But the reason I don't set, I guess, realistic goals, and I hate that term, realistic goals, is because who's to determine what is realistic or what your goal should be. I remember my freshman year of high school, I had a coach, I jumped pretty far or whatever. And I had a coach say, by your senior year, you should be able to jump over 45 feet. And so, like I said, I went to practice every day thinking, you know what, by my senior year, I'm going to try to jump 45 feet. I ended up jumping 49 feet by my senior year. So, and not that obviously that goal didn't hold me back. I just from then on have been like, well, I don't need to set a specific goal. Just go out there and be the best you, whatever it is. And what ends up coming from it will be success.
Well, let me put it this way then. And then I'm gonna leave it alone. Would it be a desire at some stage in your life or your career to be the world record holder in the triple jump?
Absolutely.
What is that record right now?
1829.
So,
but
that is a goal, right?
But I mean, obviously, yes, I guess that's a goal, but I wouldn't put that on my goals list because at the end of the day, if my potential is to jump 1850 and I only jumped 1831, yeah, I broke the world record. And a lot of people may consider that success, but is that success when my potential was to jump 1850?
Well, how do you know
consider that success?
I would consider it success. I mean, if your potential is 1850, that's where we setting the mark at. That's how we looking at it. What is my potential? What do I think I can do? Oh, I can jump 1830, 1850.
But the
1850.
The point I'm trying to make is that you never know what you are capable of. You never know exactly what you're capable of. So just keep striving to be better every single day, and where you end up, as long as you feel you've maximized your potential,
we got a difference on goal setting in that regard. So.
Well, okay, like I said, we'll agree to disagree. But to segue finally from this. What would you say is your most memorable success from your life?
I have a lot of different, smaller successes, but when I think back overall in my life, I think my most memorable success is my family. One, marrying my college sweetheart, and then having a family of 3 children, of which they're all healthy. They're successful in the things that they do. Tia and her graphics and video production, in which she's striving to do, and, you know, a college graduate. She's able to take care of herself. You and your endeavors being a, you know, student athlete at the collegiate level, at the highest level, with aspirations to do more in that regard. Being healthy, not someone who's with any addictions, at least that I'm aware of. And, you know, Malia with herself, you know, even though she's still much younger, to seeing her grow and develop and being a part of that and doing it together with your mom, you know, together us working and achieving this family and making sure that we keep it together. It hasn't always been easy, and, you know, we have our differences on how to do things and how to go about it. But being able to look back, you know, in this moment and say, wow, we did that together. You know, we have healthy, productive kids that are out there in the world doing something that we can look upon and be proud of, you know. And so for me, and then her own growth and helping and being a part of her growing, and myself as well. So I guess my biggest or most memorable would be just my family, and looking back and seeing, you know, where we started and that evolution and where we are now.
That's a pretty lofty success. I clearly have not gotten that far yet. I feel like for me personally, my most memorable success, and it's funny because I think to a lot of other people, it may not be the biggest success I've had in my life, but my most memorable and most, I guess, profound success, in my opinion, is in high school. I broke our area, which is the DVL's record, and my school record, and jumped over 49 feet as a high schooler, which not a lot of kids in high school do. And I think the reason I put that as my most memorable success is because of the context and the circumstances. I went to a high school with no track. You know, the coaching there was limited. You know, I was a scrawny, small, tiny kid who was, you know, completely, you know, I guess I consider myself a late bloomer. So I was really underdeveloped compared to the people that I was, you know, competing against. And so I think for me to accomplish that, given those circumstances, I've always felt like that was probably one of the biggest successes of my life that I look back on. So,
all right.
Now on the opposite end, define a memorable failure.
I got a lot of those too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say it like this. I always say I've never failed at anything that I didn't quit. So I you know, say that to say that anything that I really pursued and I kept going, I was able to accomplish that goal. But my most memorable was probably, you know, about 7 years back, you know, and starting a business. And, you know, the amount of work it took to initiate and get the business launched, you know, myself and a few of my business partners, I think all of us didn't realize it was going to take not only that much effort, but even more effort to sustain what was started. And, you know, things ultimately didn't work out the way we envisioned. And, you know, we ended up having to shut the business down. But that would probably be my, I guess, biggest or most memorable failure, if you will, is having that business that didn't quite reach its potential or what I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think my most memorable failure comes from track and high school, actually, once again. And I don't know, I think I use track and sports because it's a big part of my life, but it also has just been like, I guess, the thing that I've given myself to in terms of effort. A lot of other things in my life I haven't really tried that hard at, to be completely honest. And so those if I failed in other areas, I can blame it on the fact that I didn't try that hard. So that's why I think that one of the ones that probably burns the most is something that I've given my all to, and it didn't end up the way I wanted. So my senior year of high school, at the state championship, I took 6th overall. And so, you know, not terrible. I mean, obviously to be the 6th best triple jumper in the state of California is not, I don't think, anything to be embarrassed about or upset about. I've always felt that my potential, even at that time, was greater than that. And so for me, that one burns a lot, and it drives me to this day. And that leads me into my next point, which is, I know I've heard a few successful people talk about how failure isn't a negative in their life, if that makes sense. It's not something they look bad at or they try not to remember or something they try to forget. It's something they actually carry with them every single day because it's a motivating factor. Would you feel you're the same?
Yeah, to a large degree, I look at some of the things that I didn't succeed at and I learned the lessons. What were the lessons? How did I feel? You know, I don't ever want to feel that again. So I want to do whatever I need to or whatever I have to in order not to feel that pain or that emotion because it wasn't comfortable and I didn't like it. So, you know, I use it as something that motivates me, but I also look at the things that I did that didn't work as lessons to say, okay, the next time I'm going to apply this, or I'm going to take these steps so that I can, you know, reach the level of success that I want. And it often, one of those things, and success is always moving, if you will. It's something in which every day you're learning, you're growing. And once you achieve whatever it is you set out, then you have a whole nother set of goals and ideas that you have to go out and pursue. And, you know, like I said a bit earlier, it's sustaining the success is one thing. You know, it's one thing to achieve something. It's another thing to sustain that over a period of time. And that's what shows the discipline, the commitment, and the ability to function at a very high level of stress. Because when you're at the top and you're doing something that's worthwhile and that is, you know, maybe challenges and very few people are able to obtain, you got people shooting at you. And you have to do every day. You got to work twice as hard when you get to the top as you did to get there. And so to sustain it. So that's my, you know, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I've definitely lived by that failure is something to bring with me. And it's funny because I think as I say this, people probably may say that's not healthy, but I almost obsess over my failures. And it's almost, they almost mean more to me than my successes do. It's weird because in times where I feel like, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, when I feel like quitting or things get hard or whatever, I don't think about my goal or where I want to be. I often think about the times that I failed because I think that may hurt more than success feels good, if that makes sense. And like I said, in those times of tough, I literally think about where I don't want to be. I don't want to feel that pain of failure that, you know, I had, you know, whatever that time was, at every time that I came up short. So yeah, I definitely live by that. I feel like my failures are almost more important to me than my past successes. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but that's how I've gone about it thus far.
Yeah, well, we all have our own way of motivating and getting ourselves ready for what we have to do. I would just like to state that although those things push you, keep your eye on the goal that you set. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you try not to get caught and you're looking over behind you and the dude on the other side coming past you. So in what you're doing, always keep your eye on the prize, you know. And I'll give you an example. I was told that, what's his name? The coach, John Wooden, UCLA. They said this dude never watched film. He didn't have his team watch film with other teams. He said, we didn't worry about what they do. If we do what we do well, you know, we don't have to worry about what they're doing because this is what we do. And we perfect our goals. We perfect the things that we do, you know, we should be okay. So just stay straight ahead.
John Wooden was recruiting some of the best talent in the nation too, so he didn't have to worry about what other people was doing. But we ain't gonna get into that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you that person and you at the top, it's like if I got the best, you know. Granted, I got to have some idea what I'm dealing with, but my focus is on if I do my best and I reach my potential with the guys that I have, you know, ain't nobody gonna beat us. And you know, once they started winning, it was a few years in between where they didn't lose a game or very few games. So, you know, that's a strategy that seemed to work for him.
Okay. So on this is the last question and then we'll wrap it up. I just wanted to know, and this is like a pretty complicated question, but just stay with me. The question is, why is it more difficult to succeed than it is to fail? And obviously, I think that seems obvious, right? Well, success, if it's worth having, then it's going to be difficult to get. And failure, if you don't try, you're going to fail, right? But I think what I meant by that question is, why is it in I guess in our society and the way we live, why is it more acceptable for people to deal with failure or to accept their failures than it is to actually try to really succeed? Why has that become a thing? And so yeah. If that makes sense, go ahead and answer that question.
Well, first of all, why it's more difficult to succeed is because success is something that's intentional. You know, you just don't wake up, fall out of bed, and you win and gold medals, you know, or you start a business. That's something that you have to put in the effort and the work to do. And so success requires intention. It requires you to be specific. It requires you to make an effort and commit to doing something. Failure, you know, if you don't shoot at nothing, I mean, you didn't necessarily fail, but you didn't win either. So if you're not intentional, then you're not moving forward. And so you get out of bed every day and, you know, whatever pops up and whatever, you know, becomes part of your agenda for that day, if it's not something intentional, I don't think it gives you the type of fulfillment and the joy of knowing that I set a goal, I planned to do something and I did it, you know, at least for myself. And I think that's why sometimes people are a little less happy and sometimes, what's the word I'm looking for? Just not, up and ready to do things because they don't have a goal, and then they don't do anything to strive for any goal or anything till they can succeed. So in a nutshell, that's my thoughts around it. I don't know if I answered that as clearly as I was trying to, but for the most part, success requires intentions.
Yeah, and I think the reason, even more than that, obviously, it's obviously there's obvious reasons why succeeding is harder than failing. But I think even more so, what our society has done has become almost accepting of failure, right? Everybody, from younger age, it's going to sound real conservative and old to me, but from the young age, everybody gets the participation medals. And even though you was the worst out there on the field, because you were out there, good job, and so to speak. And I get it to a degree, but I do think we've started to breed a society that says just doing it, just being here is enough. And in a lot of ways, I don't think that's correct. I think you do, like you said, you have to have some intention. You have to go after it. And if you fail, live with that. Be that you failed. You have to go back and try again. Not that you don't get a participation medal for that. You failed. That's life. Keep going. And so I think we have to get out of that. And that's why I think it's made it even more difficult for people to get up and really go try things, because if everybody's going to be cool with me failing anyway, and I'm going to get a participation medal, and then what do I really actually need to try for it? So I think that's part of the reason it's become even more difficult to succeed and actually go for it than it has to just kind of fail and be okay with that.
Yeah, and when I say the word fail, because to me, fail is finite or final. To me, I may not have achieved the goal that I was set out, but as long as I continue to pursue it, I haven't failed. And so I think that's the biggest challenge that I see with these current generations, is that once it don't go the way I thought it was supposed to go, I quit. I don't want no part of it. I didn't get as many likes as I thought I was going to get on Facebook, so I shut it down. Or I'm upset or depressed or whatever the case may be. So I think ultimately is, if we don't quit, we can win, and win in the success.
Nah, that's the quote of the day right there. If you don't quit, you can win.
There it is. So we got some shirts.
Get your merch.
All right.
So that wraps it up for another episode of No Strangers to the Game. We talked a lot about success, failure, went back and forth a little bit on setting goals and, setting what success can be. But hope you found something you can take with you. And we appreciate you joining us for this episode, and expect for you to join us on the next one. So,
all right. Peace.
All right. That'll wrap up today's episode. Glad we could take a moment to put you up on game. We post a new podcast every Sunday morning. Now you know. Peace.